Hi, everyone. My name is Tiff, and I am the Behavior Manager at the Humane Society of Western Montana. I'm also a certified professional dog trainer, and thank you for joining me for today's Behavior Spotlight. I want to share some exciting news first. Me and my team have loved doing these live streams because we have been able to cover a variety of topics. It's been super fun for us. It's been hopefully very informative for you, and it has been completely free. But as the weather warms up and as vaccinations are rolling out, we are about to roll out a plan to offer in-person group classes. I don't have many details to share yet, except keep checking back on our Facebook page, but those plans are in the works. And this week and next week will be our last set of live streams. So 4 more streams, including today's. And we will likely start with workshops like loose leash walking, coming when called, and tips to teach your dog how to be off-leash reliable. Because I think as the weather warms up, those are the topics that people are going to be looking for. So let's have fun with today's live stream and keep an eye out on our page for in-person classes. And tonight's topic is managing multi-dog households. This is a very complex topic, and whether you currently live with more than one dog, or if you plan on adding a dog or puppy to your household in the future, this is going to be the live stream for you. A lot of households have more than one dog, and it is easy and fulfilling and joyous for all. But I know from experience that living with more than one dog can present its challenges too. And speaking from a sheltering perspective, when 2 dogs in a household don't get along, and if it develops to the point of aggression or other behavior problems, that is not an uncommon reason why people make the very hard choice of rehoming one of their dogs. So hopefully with the tips that you and exercises that you learn from today's live stream, you can strengthen the existing relationships that occur with the dogs in your household, or go into having more than one dog fully prepared. So we're going to talk first about why conflict occurs and a few management tips on how to prevent conflict. And then we're going to go into some very specific exercises you can do. Whether you have one dog or 2 or more dogs in your home, if you want to join in, prepare kibble for each of your dogs. So this is my older dog Bray's kibble. This is my puppy Paya's kibble. And I'm just wearing it on a treat pouch on my belt. You might want to have 1 or 2 leashes ready, and that's all you'll need. But we're not going to jump right into training. We're going to start with just understanding this topic more first. As always, if you have questions along the way, please post them in the comments section and I will address them as they come. So let's first talk about what creates problems, because we all probably know someone who has a lot of dogs or more than one dog, and things just naturally happen in their lives and things are great with very minimal effort. That happens too. But when problems arise, it can feel really, really severe because you love all your dogs and you want peace in your household. So what causes these problems? A few things. One is competition over resources. So it is very common for me and my team to get a call and the person might be really upset because dog A is acting aggressively over dog B. And when I ask why, a very common phrase that people communicate to me is something like, oh, dog A is just the alpha. She's the boss and she just bosses around dog B. Although that gives me a little bit of a hint of what's going on, I encourage you to really move past the labels. Dogs do not get into conflict because of alpha or hierarchy, because their minds don't think that way. I think those words are referring to actual behaviors that are happening. So if dog A is being an alpha, that doesn't help me identify the problem, because if it's just about a matter of being alpha, then that's a fixed label and there's nothing we can do about it. But let's dive a little deeper. What can that possibly mean? It could mean that dog A is really sensitive about her space, so that when she's in a tight hallway or on the couch, she might feel defensive when dog B comes close to her. That is very, very much more objective and can help lead to a solution. Or maybe dog A is very possessive over resources such as food or toys. So when she has food or a toy, or is just standing close to food or a toy and dog B comes around, she might lunge forward and snap and snarl at dog B to drive dog B away. If you don't understand what is the trigger for aggression or conflict in a household with dogs, it's very, very important to identify the exact reason why, beyond the labels, because identifying the source of the conflict will lead towards the solution. But very often it's conflict over resources. And just remember, like the obvious thing we think about is, oh yeah, I don't feed my dogs together. They'll fight over food. And food is one resource, but it could be a crumb on the floor. It could be a toy. It could be a stick. It could be a stick one day, but not another. It could be a particular treat and not another. It could be the space in the couch or a tight doorway that they both need to squeeze through. The resource can be yourself. Some dogs like to guard, or not like to, but some dogs are just possessive over human attention from the other dog. It could be a certain person and not the other. So I can go on, but the point is it can be really complex. And very, very, very often when there is conflict, it's competition over some resource, whether you can identify it or not. The other reason for conflict is if one or both dogs have pre-existing conditions of fear or anxiety or over-arousal. So if your dog is just a little fearful or overly excited or hyper in general, like even when there is no dog around, those feelings can become magnified when there is another dog around. Even if the two dogs have a great relationship otherwise, there's just a lot more to navigate when there's another living being there. So for example, a hyper dog that lives by itself might just be a little destructive or a little busybody around the house and, lovable, but hard to live with maybe at times. But now you add a second dog and now that busybody dog can pester that dog constantly. And then that can lead to conflict. So it just any extremes of emotion, let's say, can lead to conflict. A mismatch of motivations. So if dog A is a rough and rowdy wrestler and just loves to play, and dog B also loves to do that, that's great. You're probably going to have some really fun and well-supervised play sessions ahead of you, and there are no problems. But if dog A's motivation is to play rough and wrestle, and dog B's motivation is to sleep because he's 10 years old and has arthritis, it's not that either dog is good or bad or right or wrong, but their motivations are mismatched. And dog A, who tries to play with dog B, might cause dog B to become defensive and retaliate to tell that dog to stop trying to play with him because he's old and has arthritis and is in pain. So motivations matter. The more the dogs, their motivations match, the less conflict there will be. So the other thing is what makes it easy to live with multiple dogs. One is when you have dogs that are less motivated in general. And I know that sounds really demeaning, but what I mean is, let's say your dog loves ball and loves food, but is okay walking away from it. Like, oh, I love playing with the ball, but you're going to take it from me? All right, whatever. I'm going to go chew on a stick instead. So dogs who are able to let go of things instead of fixate on them, whether it's food or toys or attention, that dog is going to be easier to live with and just go with the flow of when you put them in a multi-dog situation. The other thing that can help is having bigger spaces. This is something I've always struggled with. When you have bigger spaces, all dogs have more room to walk away from conflict rather than feel stuck in a small space and feel like they have no other option but to escalate. So the other thing is matching motivations. Like I said before, when you have dogs that have matching energies, sizes, play styles, that can certainly help avoid conflict. And last but not least, if you just happen to have very tolerant dogs. So some dogs don't really mind having their neck chewed on a bit playfully or being pounced on. I'd still discourage those behaviors because even the most tolerant dogs can develop an intolerance if repeatedly subjected to difficult situations, but a tolerant dog will more likely tolerate or walk away from conflict rather than escalate. So that was a big mouthful on what can cause conflict in a multi-dog household, even if you have two or more dogs that get along sometimes but not others, and then some reasons why some households have it very easy to just integrate dogs and not really need to think too hard about it. So I'm going to focus, of course, on the scenario of it being a little challenging to have two or more dogs, because if you have an easy time, you probably don't need this live stream. The first thing is to think about your space. What can you do to manage your space? So if you are worried about dynamics between dogs, one of the best and first things you should do is to create separate spaces for each dog. So I'm just going to tilt my screen here because now it's time for show and tell. Oh, I'm still in the frame. Turn the speaker so you can hear me. So this is my dog's space. My house is very, very, very small. It's a small characterless rental. And this is pretty much the space my dogs have. You can see Bray is chewing on something, an antler on that side, and Paya is just standing here on this side. Each dog has their own bed on opposite sides of the room. Now, this in itself won't prevent conflict because we're going to go into training exercises that'll help reinforce their role in these spaces. But even having this established is better than just having a couch and no bed at all, because then if I don't have these spaces set up, they may one day compete for a space like a couch, or if there's one bed, or if I put the beds next to each other, they might pester each other to the point where they fight, or they might just guard the entire space their dog's in. So this is as much separation as I can put in and still have a nice-ish living room set up. You can also see, this is folded up, I don't have it out, but there's an exercise pen right there. Exercise pens were the savior to my sanity and my household when Paya was much younger. She's about 6 months old now, because I literally had a pen here. So there was her crate and there was her pen, and she could not just go and bother my other dog while he was sleeping or chewing on a bone or whatever it is she wants to do. Puppies are always getting into things. So I created a space for her to not get into things except for things she's allowed to get into, like her toys and so on and so forth. You can use other systems like a leash or tether. So she is tethered right now. I'm just going to pull this up for a second. This is a cable tether. She cannot chew through it. It is attached to her crate. So she has about a 5-foot radius, pretty much this half of the living room. And she can go into her crate or sleep on her bed or sit in front of me. She can express a pretty natural range of motion and behaviors, but she cannot go over to him. I only tether on the collar when supervised. So I or my partner are home when she's doing this. I would never leave a puppy or a dog on a tether unsupervised. They can just get tangled or, get into trouble. So just explaining the method behind my madness here. But you can see there are baby gates. I don't have a baby gate, but if I had the right setup, I would absolutely use a baby gate. But just really think about your space and think about how you can divide it up for your dogs. This doesn't mean they never get shared time together. It just means if and when there may be conflict, each dog knows exactly where they should go rather than being confused and competing for a shared space. So creating a space, first and foremost, I would not even go into training exercises if you don't have the space set up yet, because you can't train 24/7. Management is going to carry you for 90% of your lives with 2 dogs. And I just want to emphasize that in a household where your dogs are pretty social with no other behavior challenges, this is temporary. Like when you're adding a new dog, this is not necessarily permanent. My dog Paya is not going to live her life attached to this tether. And she's not going to live her life in a crate or in a pen. I'm slowly giving her more freedom as she matures and as she learns more skills and as I see how her relationship with Bray develops. But it has been all successes from here. I have not had to break up a fight. I have not had to, pay for destroyed items or just tolerate a lot of ruckus in my house. They get to play, they're both happy, and it's all under control. And I get to sit and take a break and not train sometimes, which is really nice. So management is critical. It may or may not be temporary, but the management plan is what you need to think of first. So with this in place, let's talk about exercises you can do to promote a happy, healthy relationship between your dogs, and also so for you to feel like you have more control, especially if conflict arises. The general rule for training in a multi-dog household is to perfect or get each dog really good at the skills separately and then work on it together. One of the skills that I'm going to start off demonstrating is a place or mat behavior, because you see they each have their own space. Can you imagine how hard it would have been if I brought a new puppy home but my other dog's untrained and I'm trying to teach him to go to bed and the puppy's untrained and she's trying to run over to his bed and then they're over the bed together and now they're, playing or scuffling or whatever. It just would be an absolute mess. So I needed to teach Bray this behavior first. And then honestly, he's 4, so he's so good at it. Then I got a puppy. And when I was teaching her to go to bed, he was doing his own thing. I gave him a bone. I put him away in the hallway and he was not involved. When she got really good at the bed behavior, then I brought them together and did it together. I know it sounds like a lot of work, but the more you do this on the front end, the less work you'll actually have on the back end. I will not have a life where I'm constantly watching these two and getting on top of them for every little mistake, because I'm raising them in a way where they're not going to make many mistakes. And they're still dogs, of course. So we'll see. Okay, so let me just show you really quickly how to do mat training. You know, because there's so much I want to cover, I'm not going to go very, very deeply into mat training, but this is something we've done in previous live streams. So I forget which one this one might be in. Probably Essential Puppy Skills would be the best one. So I'm going to fly through the exercises very quickly. But if you want any more detail on the exercises themselves, just email me and I'm always happy to give you further information. So she already knows this, but let's say she's new to this. You want to use luring. This is her food. So have their place set up where you want it to be. Have your other dog somewhere else. Bray is well trained enough that he won't bother me, but if your dog will bother your other dog, just, you know, put him outside, put him behind a gate, put him on leash and tie them to the sofa real quick. You're going to lure. So you're going to take a piece of their food and guide them to the bed and drop it on the bed. Awesome. And then you're going to do it again. So they're going to hop off because they don't know what's going on. You're going to take another piece of food, drop it on the bed, or just feed it to them. You're teaching them that food comes from the bed. Whenever you reinforce a behavior, good, it's going to happen more. So even after, oops, wrong food. And I know I can just switch hands, but for other reasons, her food is always on my left. So I'm luring her to her bed, dropping the food on the bed. She's learning, food comes from this bed. This bed is pretty good. I better spend more time on this bed. Good. She's spending more time on this bed. I'm going to make sure she gets good things from the bed. You can use a crate too. This doesn't need to be a bed. It can be like a blanket or a crate or an X-Pen area, whatever your space is. Just reward your dog for being in that space. You missed that piece of food. You get that food. Yep. So if it's a crate, you're doing the same thing. You're just luring them into the crate and then throwing food into the crate. I'm flying through this, but you'd want your dog to pretty much do this. Like I haven't even told her to do anything yet. I haven't given her a cue, but because I've been rewarding her in the space, she is choosing to be in that space, and I'm going to continue rewarding her for it. Good. Just throwing a treat there. Now, when your dog is pretty much so glued to their space that they want to go on it by themselves, what you're going to do is you're going to say the word, whatever word you want it to be, kennel, crate, go away, place, mat. I choose the word mat and then lead them to it. So here's an example. Mat, then lead her to it. The word must come first. That's what's going to teach your dog the cue. Mat, and then toss the treat onto their bed. Over time, your dog is going to learn to go to their place simply on that verbal cue. Good girl. Other ways you can expedite this process is to feed them their meals on their place. So in their pen, on their bed, whatever it is, mat. And then the true mark of understanding is when your dog can do it when you don't throw food. So here's an example. Mat. Good. She's fancy. She's going to back up onto it because we've been working on back up as a trick. So she gets the food. Let me do it again. Ready, Pie? Go to your mat. Good girl. Excellent. All right. So when she's good at the skill, I want to make sure he's good at the skill. I know he's already good at the skill. So here's just a demonstration of how this can be helpful. Let's say that both dogs are mingling in the living room and now they're kind of getting a little snippy with each other, right? And I don't want them to have a conflict here. Ready, dogs? Go to your mat. She thinks her little bear is her mat. That's so cute. Ready, Pie? Go to your mat. Good dogs. Excellent job. I'm just going to throw each dog a treat. Oh, that's a good skill. Did you see how I just dropped one and my other dog didn't go for it? Great. So let's say again, I know of course there's no conflict in my household, but let's say I don't like what's going on here with the dogs. How do I stop them? Ready, dogs? Go to your mat. Excellent. What good dogs. Whoop, whoop. You don't need to throw a handful of food right now. I'm just doing it because I'm literally working with their dinners right now. Excellent job. So that is the first skill, teaching each dog to really love their place and then go to their place on cue is going to give you a lot of ability to stop conflict if and when it happens in your household, or just to, if you want a break, like, okay, they're playing too rough, let me go tell them to go to their space and take a break. So really, really useful. Another useful skill is drop, because one of the most common causes of conflict between dogs is when there's a shared resource. Like I said, it could be a space, it could be a person, but very commonly it is a bone or a toy or something like that. Guess what? If your dog guards spaces and they're growling because they're on the couch, go to your mat, right? Just get out of my space, go to yours. Boom, conflict dissipated, just like that. The more control you have over a situation, the less your dogs are going to try to control a situation. So to teach drop, it's so easy. And all you do, let me find something that my dog might want. All you do is whenever you play with your dog with a toy, you're going to take a small handful of their food, so 5 pieces or so. You're going to say, drop, and just throw it down in front of their nose. What they're going to learn is when they hear the word drop, they should expect a nice handful of goodies, and instinctively they're going to spit out what's in their mouth. It should be very, very clear how important it is to do this separately with each dog, because you don't want to throw food on the ground when there are 2 or more dogs in the situation. So your dog has something exciting in their mouth, drop. Just say the word and just throw the food in front of their face. This is something I would recommend practicing just 2 or 3 times a day, not 10 times, because I do want you to throw a lot of food down so that you condition the cue very strongly. This behavior is learned when you can say the cue and they'll do it without the food being dropped first. So here's an example. He's playing, she's playing, drop. Good girl. All right. Let me show you how this can be useful. So I don't know if they don't fight over toys, but I also don't leave high value toys around for them to fight over. So there are many ways to avoid conflict. I'm going to put this exciting toy down and kind of egg both of my dogs on to get it. Don't do this at home if you have a resource guarding dog, but I'm going to show you how this drop cue is very, very helpful in preventing conflict. Ready, dogs? Ready? Get it. So they both want the toy. They both have the toy. Drop. Good dogs. And I'm not going to throw a handful of food down because it's trained already, but I am going to give her the food. No surprise, Bray is more toy motivated than food motivated, but he did let go of it. He just hovered. So there he goes. They're going after the toy playfully, but let's say, oh man, it's about to become a fight. Come back onto the screen. Drop. Good dogs. Good job, Bray. And notice this time she held on to it a bit, this is why it's so important to work on it with both dogs, because really you only need to get one. Conflict only arises when there are 2 dogs after the same thing. If just one dog will leave it alone, that's great, but you should work on it with 2. So again, here's the toy. Ready, dogs? Get it. I would never do that if my dog guarded resources. And oh my gosh, a fight is about to break out, right? So no, but let's make pretend. All right, dogs, drop. Good dogs. All right. And now giving each a treat separately rather than dropping it on the ground. All right. All right, dogs, go to your mats. What good dog. She went into her kennel actually, because there's also a mat in her kennel. They are just both so good. All right, that's your mat. Yes, it is. Again, you don't need to throw a handful of food if you're practicing a few of these at home. I'm just throwing a lot because it's literally their dinner. All right, so mat and drop, very, very important cues. The other is a attention-getting word that you want to use with both dogs. So let's say they're getting a little scuffly, they're playing too rough, you want them to stop, but there's no mat outside when they're playing. So where are they going to go? They're not holding a toy, so drop doesn't work. You can use the word stop. You can use the word, I use whoa because that comes naturally to me. You can use take a break, right? Just something you're going to say to get both dogs to stop. This is such an easy skill to teach. All you need to do is get some food, and right when your dog is in front of you, just say the cue, whoa, and then feed them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 treats. You want to feed more than one, because if you're stopping a potentially risky situation, you want them to stop and calm down and pause for longer than a second. So again, let's say my dog doesn't know this. We're learning for this for the first time. All you need to do is you need to say the word that you're going to use eventually. Whoa, whoa, dogs, whatever I'm going to naturally say, and immediately give 5 or more treats, one at a time. I'm going to show you this in practice. Go play. I'm going to have my treats ready. And let's say I'm getting concerned. Let's say we're outside. There's no mat for them to go to, and I need them to both stop because I need to stop the conflict. Whoa, dogs. Good dogs. Oh, here's yours. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. In real life, if there's conflict, you don't need to start feeding treats, because now that they've stopped, you can get a leash on a dog and lead them away from the conflict. Go play. I'm going to do it one more time. So they're actually playing really well. But again, she's going to grow bigger and stronger. They are both very high energy, high arousal dogs. And I always need to be ready and watchful with them. Oh. Whoa, dogs. And then again, if they don't know any more than just that, at least they stopped. And at least I can now grab one dog by the collar, lead them out of the situation. Yeah. Awesome. All righty. Dogs, let's go to your mats. Good dogs. Whoop. Oh, here we go. I'm just going to tether her real quick. Yeah, you are such a good girl. Yeah. Oh, it's such a small little ring. All right. Whoa. All right. Don't hit the end like that. Okay. So really, really useful. They haven't gotten into a fight because I'm doing everything else so carefully, but whether I'm out hiking with them or if they ever do get into a little conflict over a deer carcass or whatever, I can stop the conflict because I have trained each of them separately and then practiced with them together. And you can see why she's tethered, right? Because when I don't train, I want to be able to just sit on my couch and not have to think about them. And she absolutely would bug him for play or vice versa. And she's the lesser trained of the two dogs. So I'm teaching her still, this is your space. Play happens when I let you play, and I do let them play. But you can see how well controlled everything is. So happy dogs, they know their spaces. They know fun and effective cues to pause their interactions, and I can mitigate conflict before it even happens. All right, go take a break, dogs. They want to play with each other right now, but not right now. We're doing a live stream, guys. All right, just a few more things to go over. Like I said, those skills I demonstrated with both my dogs together because they're at that point. But if one or both of your dogs don't know these skills, it is so critical to spend even 5 minutes a day working with each dog separately on these skills. Like, how long would it take to practice 3 reps of go to your place and feed your dog in their place, and do 1 or 2 reps of the drop, and then do 1 or 2 reps of the stop and attention getting exercise? Honestly, that's not even 5 minutes of training. And I can promise if you do just 1 of each a day, it's with each of your dogs, it's going to add up over time. But now let's talk about exercises that you can do together, because in the examples I showed you, I was giving examples of when interactions are happening or when conflict is happening, but you also want to work on joint exercises to teach each dog to be calm and respectful in the presence of the other. The first exercise you want to do is the name game. So this teaches each dog to anticipate attention and reward from you when you say their name. And that prevents conflict because they will know when they get something from you rather than trying to butt in when you're giving the other dog something, hoping to snatch it from them. So this is so easy to do. All you need to do is have each dog's food or treats, say their name, and then give them a treat. Paya, Bray, Paya. She wants to come over to me. Bray. Notice I'm not tossing the food. They're both well trained enough that I can toss food and they won't go for each other's food. But if your dogs are not there yet, I would never toss food when there's more than one dog around, because when two dogs go for the same piece of food, that's one of the most common causes of a fight. Paya, so I'm handing her the piece of food. Bray, I'm handing him the piece of food. You can switch it up. It doesn't need to be back, forth, back, forth. It can be Bray, Bray, Paya. And they just happen to be far apart. But if your dogs are okay being next to each other receiving treats, you can have them both in front of you or next to you and practice this exercise. They're really going to learn not to try to go get the other dog's food, that they should be patient because you're going to say their name before you give them something. It's such an easy thing to do. So simple and effective. But guess what? Now that the dogs are patient, because when they hear Paya, Paya knows she's getting something and Bray's going to be calm because he knows he's not getting anything. I can start stretching it out and increasing my interactions. So Paya, I'm going to pet you and give you a treat. And now I'm going to go to Bray. Bray, I'm going to pet you. Oh boy. And I'm going to give him a treat. And because I've been doing this exercise, instead of Paya jumping over or starting to bark because she's not part of the attention, she's being calm because she has learned to wait her turn and wait until I say her name. Paya, what a good girl. Target, sit down. Good. And then Bray can be calm, even though I'm training with her just for a few seconds, because he knows to be patient. And then now I'm going to go over to Bray. Bray, sit, target. Oh, so she thinks that one's for her, which is why she's still tethered. Bray down, Bray sit. Look at her doing all of these skills. Good boy. But she's still being calm, which is what I care about most. And then, good girl, Paya. Now it's your turn because I said your name. So what this means is when I am giving one dog something, or if I'm trimming one dog's nails, or just spending some quality time with one dog, the other dog is going to learn not to just hog all of the attention. I mean, yeah, it's fine if they are both here and I pet them when there's no conflict. But again, I'm speaking to the perspective of when there already is conflict, or if you're trying to avoid conflict in a multi-dog household. So that name game can really help, and then slowly increasing your interactions. Good girl, Paya. I'm interacting with you longer, and here's a treat. I dropped one for you. Hi, Bray, I'm interacting with you. Do you want to jump up on me? Oh, I'm cuddling with my other dog, and you are so good too. And look at how calm this dog is being. What a good girl. Awesome. Okay, so the name game and the extended interactions slowly can help each dog be patient and avoid conflict because there will be less competition between them. All right, the other exercise you can do is leash and toss treats. So this exercise will teach your dogs to be patient when you're giving the other dog a thing that's not in your hand. The only time I will toss food on the floor when there's more than one dog is when all the other dogs are under control. So as an example, Paya is already leashed. So break on. So as an example, I can do this now. I can say Paya and give her a treat. And I can say Bray and toss his treat because she is leashed. She's tethered right now. So if she tried to get his, she won't succeed. There won't be conflict. And over time, she can learn not to go for the thing I tossed for him, whether it's a treat or a toy. Paya, I said your name. Paya, I said your name. Bray, I'm tossing your food because she is leashed and under control. If you don't, of course, I think this is obvious, but in case it's not, if you're not using a tether, you're literally holding your dog on leash, right? So Paya and da-da-da, and here's a treat for her. And then Bray, I can toss his, and I can switch. Now I can have her loose and have him on leash, and then say his name and then toss her treats. So now she's getting used to seeing him get something on the ground and being patient for it. This also works for toys. So you could tell that my dogs both love this toy, but if I do this, well, we have other rules too. Like all dogs need to sit before they get a toy. And watch this, Bray. Good girl, Paya. I'm going to reward her because look at how patient she was. Bray, bring it. Come on, Bugs. Bray, thank you. Bray is so much more toy motivated than food motivated. So she's being so calm even though I tossed this for him. And now, Paya. Look at how patient he's being. What a good boy. Paya, what's that? Good girl. Okay. Don't worry, I'm gonna let him have a nice fun play session after this live stream is over. All right, dogs, go to your mats. Good. And I'm gonna take them on a walk together. Awesome. And actually, that is the last skill that I wanted to talk about today. There are so many more, but I already talked about so much. Let me recap very quickly, and then I am going to post the resources so that you know how to reach me and my team if you need further help. So let me just prepare this first. Okay, so just to recap, it's important to understand why conflict arises in a multi-dog household. And the first thing you should do to keep peace in your house is to create separate spaces for each dog. Even if you do zero training, if you have your management all in place, there will be no conflict. But training is useful so that you can help dogs integrate with more control and with less conflict. And we talked about the fact that it is more effective and stress-free when you train each dog on a skill separately and then work on it together. We also talked about a few joint skills to do with the dogs together so they learn to be patient and responsive to you in the presence of the other dog. I do not see any comments, which means I don't have any questions to answer. So the last thing I'm going to do is tell the dogs to just go away for a second, take a break. Thank you. They're trying to play behind my back, those little rascals. Good thing they're trained. And I'm going to pull up this info card. So if you have any questions about training or behavior, whether it's related to this topic or not, please email me and my team at behavior@myhswm.org. Tomorrow is puppy class. I will be presenting on something. I have it written down, but I forgot. Our puppy classes are focused on puppies that are in their socialization period, but the topics are completely accessible to dogs of all ages. And if you have, our sessions are recorded and my awesome colleague, Katie, posts them on our YouTube channel. So you can actually find them in the videos section of our Facebook page or go to YouTube, and our channel name is HSWM. And you get to see all of these videos, all of the live streams we've ever done for free, forever on our YouTube page. If you're feeling generous and want to make a donation, every penny you give us will go towards the care of our shelter pets. And last but not least, look out on Facebook and be in touch with us because we're about to launch in-person group classes on a variety of fun and useful topics. Whew, that was a lot, but this is what I do every day with the two dogs in my house. So thank you so much for your time tonight. I hope this was useful and fun for you guys. I hope you have a lovely evening, and I hope to see you tomorrow at our live stream.